It's the Royal Magic Academy's elemental test ceremony, the very test that determines each student's elemental abilities and how well they can wield them. The test begins, and the Epic's daughter herself demonstrates a 52% ability in the light element. Next is Seth, one of the Academy's most outstanding students. Her results show 71% control of the sand element. But when it's Sign's turn, everyone's breath stops. He possesses the rare element darkness, and an astonishing 92%. Graph 2, the greatest in the Academy's history. The student also only achieved 88% for graduation. After the test, Saiyan quietly returns to his room. But two senior students were waiting for him in the hallway. They wanted to test his true strength and bully him. Little did they know Saiyan was expecting them. Before they realized it, it was too late. Saiyan sends one of them into the wall with a single kick. And you might be wondering how a mere mortal possessed such physical strength and speed. The answer is simple. He was a deadly assassin in his past life. Even fighting the continent's most talented night squad, Samward never gave up. He was the bastard son of a duke and the most feared assassin on the entire continent. For as long as he could remember, his father had always commanded him to protect his legitimized brother and uphold the clan's honor. In doing so, he accepted to be the hidden catalyst of Ashilvar's rise. He carried out every order without hesitation. Whether it was assisting Ashil in the imperial succession, eliminating rivals during the Demon King army's invasion, or fighting to unify the continent. Yet, for all his years of loyalty, he received only Bioshil from his own brother. A vile assassin, he said. He tampered with the Fabadan mist powers. Using this as a pretext, Ashal plotted to eliminate him. Sion couldn't bear it, to be thrown away like this after so many sacrifices. Enraged, he attacked his brother. But he couldn't stand this cheap imitation of Gilgamesh and was killed. This was never his imagined end. Then a miracle happened. He opened his eyes and found himself in the past. And the first person he saw was Emily, the maid he hadn't seen in 20 years. His gaze darted around the room. It was the past. He remembers this moment clearly. 36 years ago, the year 985. Every year, a year before entering the academy, the duchy holds a training duel. And this year, Duke Word, their father, was the officiating father. Today's opponent was his half-brother Cranward. They were the same age, but Cran was the son of the Duke's wife Margaret, so he got all the attention. Even though they were both so young, being born to a different mother changed everything. After this duel, Sion became the laughingstock of the entire family, and from that day on, his father began to ignore him. The maid advises him to retreat quietly to avoid injury, but he ignores her and draws his rapier. The weight of the weapon astonishes him. His strength truly resembles that of a child. This wasn't a dream, nor some illusion magic. This was real. He had returned. Kron taunts him, asks why he hasn't fled yet. The Duke signals the match to begin. The opponent immediately lunges, but Kron's eyes catch his movements. Slow, very slow. He dodges with ease. A swift wrist twist sends the blade to the side. Then, with a kick, he throws him to the ground. The Duke watches with mild interest, while Margaret freezes in fear. One thrust to his throat could have ended the match. But Sion hesitates. Victory wasn't enough. In his previous life, Crane had harassed him just for fun. Now that he has power, why not crush this smug attitude once and for all? In this new life, he won't be anyone's servant. He will make his own way. He repeatedly hits Crane in the face with his boot until he falls unconscious. Of duel by knockout. He is conquered. As soon as the duel is finished, he is summoned to meet the Duke. A high-ranking knight escorts him through the corridors. Before he reaches the door, he sees Margaret leaving the office. A wry smile plays on her lips. She has clearly just finished crying about her precious son. Cyan makes a slight taunt. He asks if Crane is all right. Her face twists with anger, and she screams, "How dare he show concern when he's still grieving what he's done?" Sion. He tears through her like the wind and moves on, muttering that this is how duels are. But Margaret wasn't about to let up, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. She spits and says that this is why legitimate children shouldn't be respected like real heirs. Then she sinks even lower. She curses at Cha's mother, saying he should have crawled through the streets to get food. She whispers that he had no right to fight. All of this sinks deep into San, and his jaw stiffens. For the first time, her venomous tongue has truly touched a nerve. His anger boils within him. Calm, but terribly dangerous. He considers killing her, but then decides on a more satisfying punishment. One that will break him slowly and deliberately. San tells him that he will be entering the academy with Cray. Margaret narrows her eyes. She doesn't understand, so he puts it bluntly. She wouldn't want her son to graduate without limbs. All attention must be focused on her now. Margaret steps forward, but Knight interrupts, saying, "A meeting with the Duke. Urgent." Sion gives him one last sidelong smile and heads towards the Duke's chambers. Entering the office, he exchanges a formal greeting, and memories flash. His father, Duke Vilius, the great feudal lord of the Vilius, the shield of the continent, the hero who with his magical power alone held back the demon onslaught for years. He tried to bring peace to the continent until his last breath, but Sion sees him differently. A man who made duty his life, even though he had the freedom to choose otherwise. Duke without role, he gets to the point. He says that when Krei charged, Sion dodged by reading the sword's trajectory. He then asks how he manages to wield the blade so easily. Chan says that he practiced alone every night. Tuck is skeptical. He says that he never showed any interest in swordsmanship, so why did he hide such skill? Have-san replies that he didn't want attention. Duke finds it strange that he didn't stop Krei at all. Was such aggression necessary? Sion says yes, he had to prove he was better than Krei. Duke smiles widely upon hearing this. He laughs. Beyond his wildest expectations, he says that Sion could one day become a powerful and trusted lieutenant for Ashel. Sion freezes at the mention of Ashel's name. Now that he knows Ashel's true identity, the very idea of supporting him is absurd. The Duke's same old obsession with Ashel, and Ashel. He takes Sion's hand and tells him he'll get whatever he asks for as a reward. Sion sees this as the first blow to shake Ashel's very foundation and demands to be sent to the battlefront. Returning to the room, Med nearly jumps. She overhears Sion's request. She calls him crazy because the battlefront is filled with wicked creatures and demonic monsters. The western region of the Wheeless Uchiv Empire is the true battlefront, and Lamia Valley is the front line. The war against the demons has been raging for centuries. It's hell, so his father sets a condition. Prove yourself strong enough to be worthy of Lamia Valley in 1 month. Chan doesn't know how strong you'll need to be, but he does know that he'll have to push his physical abilities to the limit. He's still at his prime, he's weaker than a child, he possesses combat intuition from his past life, and a faint trace of magic within him. If he can create a body, he can turn both into a true weapon. That's why the training begins now. Just then, Alice storms into the room, her voice fiery, having learned of Sion's departure to the battlefront. She lashes out at him, saying that victory has driven him mad. Then she asks him to meet her on a rooftop. She wants to test him. If he can withstand her for 3 minutes, she won't let him go. She will stop him. Sion tries to convince her that there's no need to fight over this, but she coldly silences him, asking if he's just after her family legacy. Only then does Sion understand why she's so aggressive. But she doesn't care about his family name. It hasn't been even a day since her duel with Krei. Her body is broken, but she shows no mercy. She attacks him fiercely with her broadsword. Sen raises his rapier in time to block the attack. She's stunned. A 10-year-old child. Her great sword was blocked. She took it as luck and unleashed a barrage of powerful attacks. Sion barely managed to block. A few hits landed, but she spotted a perfect opening in his guard. Sion parried and charged inside, and the counter went straight for her neck. She couldn't escape, but San deflected the blade at the last moment, giving her a window of escape. Had he not done so, she would have died instantly. The Sword of Mist technique wasn't made for mere mortals. Its fog-based forms were meant for killing, and Sion could still use it to overwhelm her weakened body. Mana was pushing her blade into the air. He had reached the wall. Meanwhile, he caught her mid-blow. She was empowering her blade by combining earth and wind. There was determination in her eyes. She was about to use all her might. Sion knew that trying to block the blow would throw him straight out of the castle wall, but he charged anyway, hoping that adrenaline would awaken his magic. But before their blades could collide, Night Woolen jumped from above and stopped them. He scolded Amav Ellis for being so young. She couldn't fight. Reality hits her instantly. Alice's eyes blink. Then she suddenly embraces Sion, apologizes tremulously. She just wanted to stop him from throwing her into the battlefield. Science understands that's her, the girl who risks her life for everything. Her sister, the academy prodigy, whom people called the daughter of the gods, who learned to wield a sword before she could walk. She even fought Ashel for the title of Continent Guardian. But then it was all over. She joined the Knights of Light and was killed. Sion holds her tight and swears he'll save her this time. Meanwhile, Alice turns to Ulan, asking what the Duke's personal knight is doing here, if the Duke is left for war. Ulan explains that he's protecting Sion on the Duke's orders. The mission is secret. Sion had already sensed his presence in the office, but now he's suspicious of why his father wanted to keep it a secret. Suddenly, exhaustion overwhelms him as he thinks. He faints in Alice's arms. She smiles softly. He's still a child. Next, in the morning, she returns to the academy, and Sion begins his training. He can barely do 10 push-ups. Incredibly weak, the need to get stronger grows louder every day. He's been strength training for the past 2 weeks, with 0 results. He misses the strength of his past life. He needs something, anything that will help. Just then, a maid brings a message. A package from his sister has arrived. Inside is a bottle of hellhound blood, the very thing he asked for. A rare material from Lamia Valley, the blood of a demonic beast whose odor is poisonous and tastes irritating. He was about to do it. People say it's poison, but Sion knows it gives a permanent mana and physical boost. The maid fearfully asks if he's really going to drink it. Sion shrugs. He says it's like tea after surviving her cooking, and he drinks the entire blood in 1 gulp. A surge of heat and energy spreads through his body, and he says he's going out to get some fresh air. He arrives at a place he remembers very clearly from his past life. He's been waiting for this moment for the past 2 weeks, especially that, for a time when no one can report his every move. Years ago, Ashel received a divine revelation from the luminal god of light about an ancient temple hidden in the mountains. Xigni didn't believe it then, but the place turned out to be true. Have a zone where mana is stored in great quantities. But in this timeline, that prophecy hasn't happened yet. Only he knows this place. He bends down and probes the ground. He feels the exact spot where the mana layer is thick. Then he channels magic, and the temple's entrance begins to open. Inside, as soon as he steps in, he feels something different. It doesn't look the same. This was the shrine dedicated to Luminal, whose history was erased 3 centuries ago in the Demon God War. Sion moves in. He sees a pulsing glow emanating from a sword at the temple's core. In 1990 BF, the humans finally drove the Demon King's army out of Velis. The demon's power was far beyond humans, but the humans found salvation in the ancient relics god's weaponry. One of them was the secret blade, blessed by Doran Dark Luminal. It was said that this sword was the key to winning the Demon War, and that it would also take his life in the future. In the hands of Ashel, the shadow touches the sword. Nothing happens. It moves away. No surprise at all. An ancient legend says that when someone steps across the light of a soda, a shadow appears. It looks like a shadow of a soda, but it is not a shadow. Where there is light, darkness follows, and that darkness was a secret passage hidden beneath the altar, leading to a concealed chamber. Have Sion enters and finds a sword lying in the middle of the room. The gaze stops. His eyes soften. It was the same blade he had in his past life. He reaches out, grabs its handle, and says its name, Karam. The blade immediately accepts him. Saiyan makes a few swings, but the ancient magic that once flowed in this sword is now dormant. Yet, there's a strange pleasure in having it again. Then suddenly, a voice echoes through the chamber. It asks if he's truly not afraid. Does he understand what awakening the demon sealed in that sword means? She says, now go back. It's too late, and she lunges for his body. But Sion grabs her by the throat before she can reach him. He says she's becoming reckless. She's never been like this before. Damon's eyes widen. How can a child touch her? Have Sion says calmly, the sword is hers. She tries to step back, then freezes. She feels something. Pav, she asks, is she the successor? Why is Eru's presence inside her? Sion repeats, this sword is hers. She has to be the one to take it. You must submit to your master. The daemon refuses to budge. Pav, she screams and attacks. Sion sighs. Knowing that the will of a demonic weapon always tries to take over the body of its user, he ends the matter right there. With a flick of his finger, he smashes her skull into the temple floor. He warns her that if she doesn't submit now, things will get worse. The daemon growls and Sion applies more pressure. The pressure works, driving her deeper into the ground. She breaks down and calls him master. Now was the time to return. He was already too late. Karume seems excited, eager to return to the fresh air after centuries. She asks his name, and Sion tells her, why would Aru choose a child? Have Sion replies, he's already died once. On his way back, Sion passes by Duran Dark. Seeing him, he says he should stay here for now. Its true owner will return in 2 decades. Karum doesn't yet believe in reincarnation. Sion cuts off the hilt of the secret blade. Karume screams, wondering what he's about to do. Sion says, this will bring the future. This is going to be a lot of fun. As the cart reaches its destination, our MC finally disembarks. He still can't believe the moment has finally arrived. The Duke was already there, surrounded by his knights. His father steps forward and asks him directly, is he really ready to go to the battlefront? If he wants to retreat now, he won't stop him. Sion nods firmly. He's completely confident in his chosen path. The Duke gestures to Ilkhan, like a statue. Activate the scroll. The knight lifts him into the air. He leaps, a burst of magic light erupts, and a hellhound appears. This was his trial, to test his worth. These creatures were low-tier demonic beasts from the Lamia Valley. Sion immediately takes a stance, his gaze fixed on the enemy. From a distance, his father reminds him, every decision carries weight. If he chooses this path, he must prove his strength and shoulder responsibility. A few days ago, Sion had requested a real duel from Wulan. The training of swinging swords in the air was useless now. He needed to experience a real battle. The knight said he should spar with children his own age. Crake would run away every time Sion came to spar. Wolin was still reluctant, but finally agreed on one condition. He would only fight against the cold and play strictly defensively. Sion agreed and added one more request. No matter what, the Duke would not be told anything. Before Sion could finish the words, he attacked with full force. Wolin blocked the blow, but was stunned by the weight in the 10-year-old's blade. Sion continued to spin around him rapidly, Have so fast that his silhouette was blurring. Ulan parried a high slash, but Sion wouldn't let him breathe. Blow after blow, each one packed with full force. Ulan could barely hold on. Finally, Sion stopped. He wasn't ready to win. But he thanked the knight and left. Kulin stood there in disbelief at how that fragile, noble child had changed so quickly. So when he faces the Hellhound, the knight is confident. These beasts are nothing to him. The Hellhound charges. The science of dodge does, as much as he can. He's gotten stronger. Fighting the demon beast still pushes his limits, so finishing him quickly was the only way. The beast pounces again. Sion steps aside and plunges the blade into his neck. straight to his brain. The hellhound collapses instantly. Blood spurts. Sion thinks it would be fun to put some in a jar, but people would go crazy after seeing it. His father claps. The test is over. He's passed. Duke says, "See you on the front lines." Karam asks the sword softly, why didn't he use it? He needs to fully awaken. Cine. Sion comforts her. Have soon she will drink as much blood as she wants. At the battlefront, a massive ogre was tearing through the front ranks. The Duke orders to strengthen the defense line and eliminate the ogre immediately. A hail of magical attacks falls upon Crutcher. Binding spells restrict its movements and bind it to the Akane chasm. As the beast is immobilized, Sion charges with the main force to finish it off. Have Sion and Med stand silently watching from a distance. Med breaks down in tears. She asks why he wants to stay in such a place. Sion is not afraid. In fact, this place feels almost nostalgic to him. How does it feel to be on the front lines for the first time? Have Sion says he's a little nervous. The Duke warns, death can strike anywhere at any time here. Have staying alert is the rule. Sion nods. He already knows that 3 to 4 full-scale battles take place here every day. Each battle has its own protocol for defeating the demons. The advanced knights hold the entire line like a backbone, not allowing any monster to breach it. As soon as the battle is over, Sion returns to his assigned tent in the secure sector. But the guards in this area follow orders very strictly, which means he won't be able to summon Karam here. He has to wait until dinner to sneak out and train. He sees the maid trembling and asks what she's doing. She repeats the Duke's warning. Sion tells her to pack her things and return to the fort. She screams that she can't leave him alone. Sion is hopeless without her. Who will take care of him if he suddenly disappears? He runs out of the tent. She leaves, saying it's time for dinner. Sion is irritated by her behavior, but he ignores her. That night, after everyone goes to sleep, he places a plush doll under his blanket to conceal his absence. The maid asks if he's going out for training. He nods. She praises his dedication, saying the Duke will be very proud to see him like this. Sion tells her to handle everything and keep his absence quiet. The patrols are more severe at night. This is the best opportunity. He immerses himself in fog magic. He wraps himself around her and escapes without being caught. He remembers this place was still teeming with monsters. Karum nearly goes mad, smelling the heavy scent of blood lingering in the air. She begs Sion to let her slaughter the beasts. Fug assaults them, ripping them apart. He continues onward. He collects and drinks blood from the dead hounds. It recharges mana and body and also empowers Karum. Karum grows impatient. She asks how many more beasts must be killed. Sion says they'll train here all night. This place will constantly draw monsters. There, on the front lines. On the other side, a group of knights is escorting a royal convoy through the mountain paths. The maid in the cart tells the young girl that the battlefield is dangerous for her. It would be better to turn back. The girl, with a sad face and a short temper, warns the maid to stop treating her like a child or she will get angry. She is from the next empire. The maid apologizes and explains that she heard Duke Wat brought his young son, probably about her age, to the battlefield. The girl is shocked. Why would the Duke send such a young child to war? The Duke didn't send him. He volunteered. The maid says they're about the same age. Maybe they could get along if they met. The girl immediately goes into its tsundere mode. She says. She's not interested in meeting him. The maid apologizes. Finally, the girl slows down and asks his name. The maid replies, Wat. The girl repeats the name softly. It's clear she's interested in the courageous boy. The next day, on the battlefield, Duke Wat leads his knights in perfect coordination, crushing monsters. When the battle is over, he approaches his son and asks how he's feeling. After his first real combat, Sion says he still has a long way to go, but he's ready to walk it. Duke smiles, impressed by his courage and determination. He says he's proud of him. Sion is surprised. This was the first time he'd felt such warmth from him. Duke says they'll have a private talk in the tent tomorrow. That night, the camp is asleep. Sion goes back to training in the rear zone, but something's wrong. The deathworm appears before him. These creatures spawn deep within the valley, not here. His condition was weak. Saiyan was barely holding on. Karam urged him to surrender control to her if he wanted to survive. Saiyan knew she wanted complete control of his body and kept pressing. She said his weak swings couldn't stop a worm that healed every wound in seconds. There was only one way to end this. One-shot kill. Saiyan knew this fight wouldn't end if it continued like this. Despite all the demonic beast blood he had consumed in the past month, he was far from his true strength. Giving control to Karam was his only option. Sion stepped forward. Accepting this, Fug's ninth form, demonic sword manifestation, activated, and Karam pounced on the worm with full speed and power, ripping it to shreds in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, the Duke, accompanied by some royal trainees, passed through the same area. He saw the tattered bodies of the house scattered on the ground, the same ones Sion had killed the previous night. The air smelled heavy with mana. They immediately suspected a demon had been activated. The Duke ordered the area to be searched immediately. They must be secured. Such things cannot be left unnoticed. He observes the cuts and scars on the bodies. They strangely resemble his son's fighting style, but he shakes the thought off. As they move back, they find a giant dead deathworm. Now a big question arises. Who killed so many beasts single-handedly? A theory begins to form in Duke's mind. Perhaps some secret organization is behind all this. Back in the tent, Sion lies on his bed, thinking. When was the last time he used the demonic sword manifestation? It's the same technique that allows Karam to gain complete control and unleash his power without restraint, but it carries a high risk. If he slips once, Karam can permanently take control. That's why he can't use it on weak monsters. The price is too high. His body is exhausted. If he hadn't consumed so much demon blood in the past month, he would have collapsed long ago. Just then, Karam appears and says that she understands something. Inside, Saiyan is like a mature warrior, but his body is still that of a child. His instincts, awareness, and his swordsmanship doesn't match his age, as if he's trained for decades. She says his movements are like someone who has, and when she hears Sion say he's died before, Karume is completely convinced he's returned from the future. Have Sion, with a tired face, says it should have been obvious from the start. Karume yells in his usual loud voice. Then, calming down, asks about his previous death. Who was so strong that he killed him? Her theory is either Duran Dark's Wheeler, defeating him in a duel, or betrayed by someone close to him. She believes the second option more strongly. Past Cyan asks why. Karam explains that she saw the look in earlier Cyan's eyes when he stared at Duran Dark. It was as if that sword had wounded his past. If so, Sion may have come for revenge. Her voice changes. Karam growls and warns that if Sion ever dies or loses again, she will swallow him whole. Does have Sion slaps her on the head, reminding her who's in control. But deep inside, he feels relieved. Karam is the same as in her previous life. Later, a strange unease spreads through the camp. People seem nervous. Sion goes out to find out why and finds Emily. She tells him that news has just come in that the corpses of high-ranking monsters have been found in the valley near the rear camp. It's the same place where Sion was fighting last night. Sion immediately understands. These are the creatures he killed. He asks if there have been any more rumors. But just then, Ulkin arrives. He says the Duke has called him. Sion understands. He's trapped. He handled the corpses last night. He goes to Father Stent, greeting him like he always does. There was a slight nervousness in his chest. What excuse would he give if the topic came up? His father would recognize his attack pattern at a glance. Duke gestures him to sit, no pretense, straight to the point. Asks where he was last night. Sion lies without hesitation, with a straight face, saying he went to bed early. A slight flicker of doubt in Duke's eyes. The markings he saw yesterday resembled Sion's sword style. But Duke stops himself. A child like the Deathworm. How could Beast kill alone? Then, in a serious tone, he says they need to thoroughly investigate the case, talking about the monster cops found near the rear camp. But the theory Duke keeps returning to is that it involves an old assassin organization called Mist. Sion feigns ignorance, as if he's never heard of it. Duke explains that Mist has existed for centuries. No one knows what their goal was, but they left behind the corpses of noble families. Their signature was a black fog shrouding each murder. Then one day, they disappeared. Their last sighting was 300 years ago. But the problem is, the same black fog was surrounding the monsters found yesterday. The same power is associated with Eryu, the god of darkness. The Mist worship the same deity. Based on this, the Duke assumes that the Mist killed Deathworm and the other beasts as well. Sion secretly praise his father's sharp intuition. Even after centuries, he connected the fog to the organization. The Duke says he doesn't know why the Mist has resurfaced, but the top brass of the Empire must be informed immediately. Sion is relieved. Father doesn't suspect anything and believes his lie. How could a child his age be associated with a legendary underground group? Then the topic changes. Does he know what guests are coming today? Sion knows that Aparar himself will be at the front. The Duke nods and gestures to ask for a small favor. Meanwhile, Aparar arrives at the battlefield. Knights welcome him respectfully. The Duke kneels, but Aparar gets down and says there's no need for formalities between them. They've been friends for years. Aparar tells Sion. Let's see. He is introduced as the youngest member of the Wyatt family. Aparar is impressed by his ability to withstand the front lines at such a young age. Sion understands why Father invited him for this visit. This was the first time he was publicly acknowledged as the Duke's son. In his past life, he would be locked in a room whenever Aparar visited, but this time he was truly happy. For the first time, he was being recognized with pride. Then Aparar introduces his daughter. The girl with the white hair is Urin Sievers, the 5th princess of the Chief Empire. Sion recognizes her immediately, a princess with a tragic fate. The true meaning of the Duke's favor is now revealed. Sion was supposed to ensure her safety. They're the same age. He can take care of her. He can support her. The Duke wanted Sion to develop a relationship now, as they might meet again at the academy. Sion understands that building good relations with the royal family is beneficial. He's not eager to befriend her, but he understands Father's intentions. He wants Sion to develop a bond as strong as the one between the Duke and the Emperor. It's a beach. But Sion isn't that kind of person. He's confident they'll never be friends. For now, he has to pretend. He walks with the princess. When they reach the river, she asks, "Why is the water red?" Sion explains, "It's the blood river. The name says it all. when demons die or are no longer able to fight. They drag themselves toward this river. Their decaying bodies and fluids turn the water red. Hearing this truth about the river disgusts the princess. She asks where it flows. Sion, enjoying scaring her, says, straight to the demon realm. If she can do enough, she'll be right there. If they swim forward, they might encounter the demon king. Just then, a yellow light appears in the sky. Sion explains that this means demonic beasts are approaching. She panics. She asks, how the demons dare to come so close. Meanwhile, on the front lines, the Duke begins forming battle formations. He orders the knights to protect the Aparar, but the Aparar interrupts, saying he won't retreat and hide behind shields. It's been years since he's seen real combat, and now he's eager to get into action himself. The Duke there was no choice but to agree. An announcement was made, asking the Apter to lead the charge, while the remaining knights handled the incoming demons. The Duke called for his son. Sion stepped forward without hesitation. But before he could leave, Eren stopped him. She asked if he could truly fight the demons alone. Sion nodded, but she interrupted. She wanted to go too. If he could, they were the same age. Sion coldly refused, saying that people die here. As stubborn and fiery as she was, she yelled, still, she wants to leave. Sion ignores her and calls for Yulin. He orders the princess to be taken to a safe place away from the fighting. She screams in anger. For treating her like a child, Sion goes to her and says with a cold look, if she keeps jumping like this without thinking, people will die. Maybe dozens, maybe hundreds. Is she ready to bear that burden? Her eyes fill with tears. The cross was straight to her heart. Sion turns and says, if you want to cry, then pack up and go home. Back at the camp, high-level demonic beasts start attacking. Duke orders, prepare for battle and leave not a single crutcher untouched. Soldiers rain down fire and charge straight at the demonic snail. Here another story unfolds. That of the Ephar Danis Varus. His first wife, Diana Kazel, bore him 2 daughters, the first and second princesses. His second wife, Cassandra Nepalis, bore 2 princesses, and then came Eren, the 5th princess. She was always seen as a disgrace, considered an illegitimate child born to a commoner. She was considered unworthy of royal blood at court. She endured scorn and rumors, but she never earned royal grace. She never learned to give up. She put her heart and soul into her studies. Her life fell apart. She was accused of betraying the empire. She was expelled from the royal bloodline. Later, she was reported dead of illness on a distant island. People called her the tragic princess. Sion always believed that if her stubbornness and dreams hadn't consumed her, her life might have been better. Karam joked, saying her story matched Sion's. Somewhere in a war zone, Aparar and Duke marched forward, slaying armies of demons. Aparar Diane channeling raw lightning through her body. He tears them apart like they're nothing. He's not just a ruler, but a dangerous battle mage. Nothing can stop him. When the area is cleared, the two return to the command tent to rest. Epper pours drinks. He offers them to Sion's father, remembering the old days. They do. Alcohol can spoil judgment at the front. Amidst the silence, Epper raises a disturbing note. Several nobles have recently been killed. The news is spreading. Soldiers and citizens are growing restless. The Duke immediately asks, is there a pattern? Any strange marks? Dion explains. All the nobles were corrupt, and every black fog residue has been found on the core. Duke falls silent. He says he saw the same fog behind the camp yesterday. Both agree the black fog users have returned. Then the topic changes. Epper says Eren is also starting to feel the blame, and it's bothering him. Epper was trying to keep the situation calm, but some good people clearly want to use this chaos against Eren. He turns to Duke, his face serious and clear, and makes a request. If something happens, if he dies first, Duke will take Eren in his place. He promises to take care of her. He swears on his life that he will protect her. The matter ends there. Meanwhile, in the tent, Sion is telling Emily everything. Emily is disappointed that he barely spoke 2 words to the princess. She laughs and teases that Sion will never get married like this. Sion avoids the topic and leaves for training. But as soon as he comes out, he bumps into Eren. She goes into the tent, drenched in rain, and asks, where is he going now? Sion is about to answer, but she says, wait, she has something to say. She asks how long he's been stuck here. Sion replies, around May 1st. Then he asks the real question. Why did she come all the way to find him? Eren wants to say something, but Emily's piercing gaze from behind stops her. Sion tells Emily to leave, but she taunts him, saying they should all have fun together. As soon as Emily leaves, Eren starts. First, she apologizes, saying that the way she behaved was not up to royal expectations. Sion accepts. Perhaps he said 2 harsh words to her. Eren's voice becomes heavy. She says that Sion is liked by everyone. She's much more mature than him. Sion immediately notices a change in her behavior. Then Eren brings up the academy. But Sion stops her. He understood earlier. GTA 6. Sion tells her straight in the eye that if she wants friendship, she's come to the wrong place. He refuses and tells her to go back. She says in a broken voice that she's not asking for friendship, she just wants good terms. And Sion is being unnecessarily cruel. Tears well up in her eyes. She says Sion also treats her like everyone else. He thinks she's a fake and undeserving princess. She composes herself and says she shouldn't have come. She took Sion too much for granted. Then she mutters, "You're not even like Aishao." This name strikes Sion like a blow to his heart. He grabs her hand without thinking. He asks how she knows Aishao. Aaron tells her he met her while walking near the academy. Aishao told him not to worry about others' opinions, just focus on his goals. Sion freezes. Aishao's manipulation had started from the very first meeting. He goes to warn Aaron. He was about to. But then the ground shakes. Emily comes running. She screams for them to get out immediately. But it's too late. An orc bursts right through the tent and crashes inside. The ground tears apart, throwing Aaron into the air like a broken doll. The knights standing outside see the torn tent. They realize Sion is inside. Emily falls into the mud, crying and screaming. They are sure Sion is dead. This news reaches Epper and the Duke immediately. Both their children were trapped in the debris of the tent, attacked by a high-ranking demonic beast. Without delay, Epper ordered the entire army, go straight to the scene and ensure the safety of the princess. Meanwhile, Sion's mind races with terror. Why are so many powerful monsters repeatedly reaching the rear zone? They should have stayed in the valley. He thinks something serious is going wrong because of him. Just then, Aaron sees him alive with trembling eyes. Tears of relief stream down her face. The orc smashes the tent, but Sion got out before it collapsed. There was no chance he would be killed by a mere orc. He had taken down demon kings in his past life. Aaron, standing next to him, nervously asks if the knights stationed at the camp are all right. Then she breaks down in guilt, thinking that everyone is in danger because of her. The knights assure her that it is their sovereign duty to protect her, even if it means losing their lives. But before she can even finish, the orc returns. He grabs a knight, crushes his body in one grip, and throws him away. Sion stands before him without hesitation. The orc immediately fixes his gaze on Sion, forming a wall between him and the impending danger. A clear sign that this advanced, the monsters are drawn straight towards him. Sion shouts for everyone to retreat and take the princess to safety while he holds off the beast. Emily drags Aaron away. Sion is left fighting alone, but his attacks barely leave a scratch. It's as if the sword isn't even hitting. He's desperate, unable to understand what's happening. Just then, Karam appears and explains in a casual manner that Sion has been drinking so much demonic blood this month that he's become a walking goat. The elite monsters are drawn by the scent of his power. Sion screams in anger. If he knew, why didn't he tell her earlier? Karam smiles devilishly. She says she just wants his body. Without delay, Sion transforms him into a weapon. With Karam's weapon, he attacks the orc. He cuts through limbs like butter. The orc is knocked out in an instant. Then he sees something even more terrifying. Dozens of high-level beasts are advancing towards him. Karam goes crazy with excitement. Seeing such a huge feast, they are confronted by the devil dragon. Sion tells him to be prepared. Demonic manifestation. He activates it, clearing the way for them all. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the Duke has already taken down the last monster. Appare asks if there's any news about the children. The answer is gloomy. There's no sign of them near the collapse tent. Appare assumes the Duke will be worried about his son, but his eyes are cold. He says any member of the Ward family knows how to protect themselves in such a situation. The real concern right now is the princess's safety. Just then, the knights return with her. Aaron falls into her father's arms, gasping and pleading that Sion be spared. The Duke asks the maid if she's his personal attendant. She trembles and says so. Sion told them to run and stayed behind to hold off the monsters. A knight offers to bring Sion back, but the Duke refuses. Right now, the army must focus on stopping this wave. If these creatures break through the camps, the Empire will stop at nothing. We must reestablish formation and save lives. Someone asks what will happen to Sion. The Duke's answer is calm and final. Sion has fulfilled his duty. He protected the princess. That must be the word. Aaron continues to cry, blaming herself. Just then, a voice pierces the air. She looks up, her eyes widening. Sion appears, descending from the sky, holding the reins of a flying dragon, shouting for help. Drogs are sacred beings connected to the Creator. Rare and divine humans are not worthy of challenging such beings. For Sion, even touching a real dragon is the greatest event in life. Unfortunately, the dragon he is clinging to flies directly over the crowd of people, clearly visible to everyone. He recognizes him. He too looks at the Duke with interest. He asks if he intends to save his son. The Duke sits completely unfazed, comfortably observing from afar the trouble MC has gotten himself into. Meanwhile, he, barely hanging on to the dragon's back, regrets every second, curses himself. Why did he feel the temptation to drink dragon blood? A while ago, when he was holding back waves of monsters. He reached the dragon, tearing through them all. Seeing it up close had almost made him tremble. Seeing the mythical beast in front of him was a different kind of intoxication. But in a moment, the dragon, he goes on the offensive, releases a straight column of fire. He somehow dodges, climbs higher and attacks him, but each hit only infuriates him. Then comes the tail swipe. A powerful slam sends his body flying like a racket. Before the follow-up, the Saiyan shifts to martial arts. He unleashes heavy, rapid blows, but the dragon doesn't fall. As he prepares his next move, the dragon suddenly stops, then turns and starts flying. And that impulsive idiot jumps after him. He grabs the dragon's side, only to be driven to bleed. Now, this is the situation. Clinging to the dragon, the helpless and exposed Kurungum screams, "Why aren't you using it? He will lose his life." Sion shouts, "If he shows his power now, everyone will know and he will be roasted." Then both of them see that the Duke has started casting 8-star magic. Sion's breath gets stuck. That serious face of his father simply means he is going to target the dragon, even if it is his son sitting there. The spell is launched. The magic blades rise up, tearing the sky, cutting the dragon's flesh like a knife. Sion jumps at the last moment. "Yes!" Karam screams, dodging the raining blade in midair. "Use your power and fly away." But Sion can't take the risk. He scans the area. He sees the blood river in the distance. Have a last-ditch effort. He diverts his fall. Directly towards it, 2 demons on the other side of the valley are watching the spectacle. The elder demon says, "Looks like a young dragon is in trouble." The white-haired demon says, "No, it must have been frightened by something extremely powerful. Only a high-level beast can do that." The elder corrects. That part of the valley belongs to humans. But if you're curious, you can go. Just try not to kill everyone on the way. The small demon spreads its wings and flies towards chaos. Sion somehow survives the fall. He crawls out of the blood river, out of breath. He checks on Karam. If she's okay, but she's furious. She's incapable of speaking. Sion tells her to calm down. They'll return soon, but she warns him. This place is in the heart of demon territory. Sion laughs. "You're not so unlucky as to run into a powerful daemon at this late hour." But luckily, she slaps him right there. A voice echoes that he hasn't forgotten for years. The voice of Vicarion, the walking form of the Demon King Darkness. Whoever saw him always said it was like seeing darkness itself. That same presence now stands before him. Sion's body instinctively takes a defensive stance. Varian angrily asks, "Is he human?" Sion is tensely silent. The next moment, the Demon King blinks before him. Clearly, an invitation to fight. Sion reflexively attacks with calm. But only a small part of his hair is cut. Vicarion stops and looks at him, impressed and intrigued. Karam asks nervously, "Who is he trying to fight?" Sion replies in a heavy voice, "The Demon King." Hearing this, she trembles with terror. Karam says, with his current strength, it's impossible to defeat the Demon King. Now he's trapped in a situation where there's no survival. Even running away is like inviting death. Her mind goes blank for a moment. Then Valkyrian surprises her. He says, "Relax, he won't hurt a child." Then he lies down comfortably on the ground as if he's come to talk. Sion finds this extremely strange. This is the Demon King's not at all like his nature. Varian then asks, "Is he really human? And how did he get here?" Sion tells him yes, he is human, and he got washed here after falling into the Blood River. But Varian is not satisfied. He feels a strange energy from Sion and asks if this is his first time here. Sion nods, but Varian's suspicion does not subside. Then he asks if he has seen him anywhere before. Sion denies it and Varian accepts that sincerity. After all, he has never seen a human, so how can anyone know him? But in Sion's mind, suspicions grow. Is this the same Vakarar he remembers from his past life? He asks, "Why did he come here?" The Demon King replies, "I felt an unusual power surge from this direction. As ruler, I came to investigate." Sion shows no interest, and this confirms Varian's suspicions. He keeps talking, but Sion sees a real difference in him. In his past life, this same man brought the demon invasion upon the world. But this Varian standing before him doesn't seem worthy of starting chaos. Something went wrong. Something that changed him. After all, Chan. He takes a risk. He asks what the Demon King really wants. Varian laughs and says just the safety and prosperity of his people, and he'll destroy anyone who breaks them. For a moment, Sion sees a glimpse of his true nature, raw evil, waiting for a trigger. He warns that soon, either Varian or the Empire will face a massive turning point. Varian is confused. He asks what he's trying to say. Sion admits he doesn't know the exact details. But if the situation escalates between humans and demons, a major war could break out, and he wants terms to prevent it. Varian asks, "Why would I attack the humans?" Chan pleads, "Whatever happens, promise me you'll never attack human lands. You won't start a war." Varian raises his horn. What will he get in return? Sion says he will support any threat with all his might. Pyrrhion is amazed, but something in Sion's courage appeals to him. He asks for his name, and upon hearing this, Solemn vows that as a demon king, he will never initiate war on the humans. He will not encroach on their land, no matter what. Sion must keep his promise. With that, he flies off into the sky. Soon, Frontine scouts find him, and news spreads he's returned after escaping the Devil Dragon. Deep inside, he knows he can't do practically anything for her. But this emotional mess is eroding her patience. She quickly wipes away her tears. She forces a smile. She says she just needs to level up, become stronger, so powerful that someone like Chaya will notice her, accept her presence. She vows. Have, she eats. She will become so capable that Sign, whether she wants it or not, will not be able to stop her. She pauses at the door and says softly, "Thank you for not dying on the front lines." A few days later, in the shadows of the forest's rear border, a man slips through the trees, confident that no one is following. He removes a glowing arcane cube from his pack, and as he emerges, the dark chasm of cursed magic explodes and grips him. A voice echoes from behind, announcing with surprise that the real traitor turned out to be Reynold Crimson. The smuggler, frightened, begins to explain the cube's reality. Yes, its mana storage is limitless. He doesn't stop until he snatches the Creation Assassin cube from the Mage Labs in the Game Kingdom. He removes his mask. He says his name as if he's being issued an arrest warrant. Reynold freezes. Scion has caught him. He couldn't even think. He asks what Scion is doing here, but Scion doesn't even answer. He keeps digging through crates and stuff. Contraband, parts, demonic relics, and the puzzle is complete. Reynold used to extract corrupted blood from corpses, fill it in cards, and send it across the border with the help of an insider. Have somebody big is involved. Reynold shrugs. He tries to act innocent. He says he knows nothing. But Scion is much more advanced. He's seen demonic blood being sold in underground markets. Some big player is supplying it. He wonders who Construct is. Just then, Reynold suddenly attacks with a fire burst. He thinks the strike will hit, but Scion was already close. In one cut, he cuts off his palms and buries them in the bark of a tree. Then he makes a deal. Tell him everything, you'll get the smuggling route, the mole, complete peace, and a clean death. If you don't tell, the torturer will make him beg to die. Later, in 2010, at a trade station on Velas's western border, traders open a crate containing a blood shipment. Inside, Reynold's severed head floats in black smoke. Nearby, Scion watches the whole thing unfold from the shadows of the ceiling. Karun asks why he's letting these traitors go. Have Scion coldly replies, "They just need a shock, a warning." He remembers everything. In a past life, Reynold was in league with Game's government. He was in charge of the trafficking of corrupted blood. Every shipment went to Game's Mage Society. They were supposed to dissect the magic source, and they were obsessed with breaking its limits. Right now, they were creating tools like the Dimension Cube. But in the future, they would create horrific creations from that blood. They would completely corrupt magic. Scion wouldn't let that happen this time. Karam teases him, saying, "How funny. He's helping the Empire, even though he swore he'd live only for himself this time." Meanwhile, in one of Uchiv's estates, Ashal is lying in his room, resting after spending time with a woman. Suddenly, he becomes alert when she tells him that Scion went to the front lines and took the Duke with him. Castle wakes up. He'll go visit his brother. Scion has been getting on his nerves lately. He won't let it go like this. Inside Castle, Emily, meanwhile, screams with joy at finally escaping the front lines and returning. Emily's relief is genuine. She practically screams with excitement. She tells Scion the Academy will be 1,000,000 times better than this horrible battlefield. But Scion's face tells a completely different story. He knows what awaits inside the Academy. It's not a new chapter, but a web of politics, fake alliances, jealousy, cloud chasing, talent. Have social status is more important than looks. Emily is simply excited because she's heard the Academy is full of handsome boys, and she might get a chance at romance. Entrance day arrives. Scion crosses the gates and bumps into Crayon. Upon seeing him, Crayon runs away without a word. The memory of the previous beating still stings Karam. Karam doesn't understand what it was. Scion tells her he's her half-brother. Karam says he doesn't look like the rest of the family. Scion smiles. He says he's just like Alice. Staff greet him. Polite, timid, and everyone is avoiding eye contact. It means there's a big man around. Duke, Ashal, but Scion doesn't care. After a year of nonstop work, he allows himself a moment's peace. Maybe this is the reward. He walks down the hallway to the room, and before he can open the door, he senses a familiar aura within. Strong, unmistakable, a shell. And as the door opens, he finds himself standing there with the same arrogant smile. In a vial, Scion keeps himself composed. Ashal sarcastically says, maybe Scion doesn't even recognize him. After all, Scion might not even recognize him. It's been years. I just needed to hear this. A broken switch flicks inside Scion. He's about to counterattack, grabbing Karam, when she stops him. She warns him, one wrong move and he'll die here. Scion barely holds himself together. Gritting his teeth, he greets Ashal. He says he can never forget his older brother's face. Ashal laughs and scratches his hair, happy that he remembered him. Then, pacing leisurely around the room, he says, I've heard Scion has gotten a lot better at fighting. Maybe he'll be useful on the battlefield. Scion swallows the disgust in his heart and says, yes, that too. He's waiting, but the hatred in his eyes says it all. Ashal catches his gaze. He says he just came to visit. That's all. But Sand knows Ashal never wastes time on small people. If he did, there's a reason. Strangely, that's what makes him work. In the hallway, Emily brings her things, yelling at him for not helping. But as soon as she reaches the front of the room, she suddenly freezes. Ashal emerges. He pushes Emily away, saying, "Ignore him. Go back to work." As soon as she leaves Emily, she asks why Sion didn't tell her he would come. Have Sion, expressionless, tells her to leave him alone. Then he goes into the bathroom and locks himself in. He holds the sink and vomits. The pressure and stress all come crashing down at once. Deading himself, he turns to Karam. He asks why she stopped him, but it was a perfect opening. Karam says coldly that she wasn't being soft. She just wants her ridge to be deeper. The more twisted it is, the more delicious it will be. Cheyenne gives a light laugh. He tells her that Karam's, "I like this look." Meanwhile, in Ashel's private room, a butler arrives with a report. As ordered. He tracked down the second princess and has now found her. She's within the White Elves' territory in the northern region. Ashel raises his eyebrows. Fina isn't welcoming to outsiders. But yes, she is. She knows how to win people over. Ashel isn't surprised. He knows a girl like Fina would be capable of such a task. He orders the butler to report as soon as he's expected to return. The servant nods, but before leaving, he asks, "Did anything happen in the meeting today?" Ashel seems different. A little happy, too. Ashel laughs. He says it's the opposite. His mood is completely off. Only that look of Sion's is stuck in my mind. Have sharp, heavy, as if he's looking at a golden enemy. He orders. From now on, Sion must be watched. The butler leaves, promising to arrange for surveillance. And Shell is left alone, wondering what his younger brother is hiding. A formation of royal knights stands ready outside the castle, ready to escort Sion to the academy. Emily stands nearby, sad. She's not allowed to go with the knights. And this, stinging him. Sion says goodbye. He tells him to behave and take care of himself. Then she reminds him, if anyone troubles you at the academy, don't lose heart. Sion is surprised because this is the same Emily who was like this in her previous life. Kind, constant, the same girl who pulled him out of death as a child. He was 8 years old. No one came to see him as he was racked with high fever. Only Emily. She carried him on her back and ran to the doctor. She sat with him all night. If it weren't for her, he would probably have died in some dark corner. Card of Sion pokes his head out of the car and shouts jokingly, "If I come back, I'll be punished for not behaving." Emily waves, laughing and crying. She's never been a maid to Sion. She's close to his heart. As Sion settles back into the cart, something feels off. This nights at Ascot is too suspicious for just one person. He's starting to believe this isn't a normal trip. Something's about to happen. They stop several hours before reaching the academy. The knight says they'll spend the night there. Sion asks, "Where exactly is this place?" Saffron replies, "In the middle." But the scenery betrays the lie. This isn't Saffron, it's an isolated trap. He steps off the card and is immediately surrounded by knights. If Cyan calmly asks, "Who's the mastermind? Who planned this?" There's no answer. They simply say, "He'll die today." A knight comes to strike his neck. Cyan effortlessly dodges and in a single counter beheads him. He points his sword at the others. He repeats the question. The knights attack simultaneously, but within seconds, everyone is lying on the ground, a heap of severed limbs and broken armor. He leaves him alive. The last knight is frozen in terror. Now he understands that the man who escaped the demon dragon is beyond any human's reach. Sion asks calmly, "Okay, who gave the order?" Knight, frightened, says Mrs. Margaret had brought the same kill order. Sion doesn't kill her. Both return to the dungeon. The journey to the academy continues. On the way, Knight reveals another truth. Cray had gone to Margaret to ask for some help. It's likely this hit job was her request. Sion also takes the tooth, but Knight will settle this score with Cray later. Sadly, he asks what will happen to him now. Sion says coolly, "You're useful right now, so keep driving." A moment later, the vast outline of the academy appears on the horizon. They finally arrive. Margaret's mind explodes in the state. When news reaches her that their mission has completely backfired, her men were found thrown like garbage on the roadside, and Sion survived and reached the academy. Fear and disbelief rise simultaneously. How is this possible? Butler says perhaps they underestimated him, but both find it strange for a child to do this. He thinks there must be some unseen force behind it. He suggests, sending a cleaner to the academy to finish the job. Margaret immediately stops him. If they do that, Sion will pounce on the crayons. She orders blackout. No retaliation. No leaks. Not even a mention of today's incident. The servant bows and leaves. Outside the room, Ashel's butler has been listening. 10 days have passed since Sion and Brian left Saffron quietly. By now, Margaret must have realized that Sion is alive. This means the path to the academy is now safe. Now, Sion must think about what to do with Brian. Sometime later, when Sion is resting in the cart, Ascot announces they've arrived. Sion looks outside. A wave of nostalgia fills the academy building, both good and bad. He hands over his credentials, and whispers arise. Sion is sent to the dome. 2 days later, there's the entrance ceremony and elemental assessment. The staff gives him an ornate key and a sealed letter. Sion is astonished when he reads it. He's been awarded the entire royal hall. No one in his bloodline has received this honor. It's clear. Some higher hand has set this up. Prion enters. Now Ascot is finished. Bug Sion turns to him. Time to settle down. Brian knows he's about to die. But Scion hands him a heavy bag of gold. This is payment. Have enough to start a new life. Brian's eyes fill with tears. He falls to his knees, begging for a lifetime of service. Scion is shocked. Why would anyone want this? Brian explains. His father taught him, if you find someone worthy, don't hesitate in your loyalty. Scion thinks this is foolish. Isn't Brian afraid there might be a betrayal? Brian calms down if he has to. Have Scion shrugs. Ceremony skips. Does. He heads straight for the elemental test. Meanwhile, in the dean's office at the Royal Academy, the dean is reading the new elemental results. This year, the candidates were impressive, like Aaron, with 2-star mana and a 50% 15's light affinity. But one name stands out above all. Saiyan, with 2-star mana, S-rank physique, and a shocking 92% darkness affinity. His sister Alice also scored an AT-80 in graduation. Instructor Sarah reminds him that his element is darkness. The dean agrees, but also offers some information. He received the royal hall on the direct orders of the emperor, at the cost of saving Aaron on the front lines. He further says that the emperor was thinking of marrying them. He asks Sarah what would happen if the ignored 5th princess marries into the world family. The answer is clear. Succession drama, empire-wide chaos, perhaps civil war. Sarah warns that if this goes too far, the realm will collapse. Dean laughs and says, it's still a while away. Let's see if Scion becomes the empire's savior or his downfall. On the other hand, Scion walks down the hallway repeating his elemental numbers in his mind. He is still shocked after seeing 92. He had only one in his past life. The effect of demonic blood is clear. Then, Creon appears in front of him, looking at him. His face was as if he had seen a ghost. He was in shock. He could clearly see that Scion must be dead. Next to him was the same chubby scoundrel Popper Panaran, the one who, like Cray, had made his life miserable since childhood. The smile on Scion's face was a chance to take revenge very quickly. Popper moved forward to say something when Scion pinned him to the wall with a single kick. Popper fell unconscious. Scion turned towards Crayons. With a calm but dangerous smile, he said, I don't care about your tricks behind your back. But if you come into my sight again, I will leave in a wheelchair. Cray collapses right there. Scion walks away calmly. Pride on her face, complete satisfaction. Meanwhile, Sarah, thinking about Dean's words, has hardened. She's determined to keep a close eye on him. Just then, she notices Shelf's book is missing. Scion's voice is behind her. She was searching for the same book in her hand. She's startled. She didn't even hear him. He reminds her of the rules. Students can't come here. As soon as she gets the book back, the black fog comes out of her hands and attacks. Scion ducks and says, I didn't recognize the Hall of Mist correctly. How did he know that surprise? Their first encounter in their previous life had seemed perfectly normal. She'd ask about his day, saying counseling was necessary for improvement. Whereas Scion faced daily public humiliation at the hands of Ishel. He had admitted that 84% of the darkness element is rare, and that humanity doesn't understand this element, which is why people underestimate it. She had smiled, saying his growth is limitless. Scion was completely misled. The instructor's act was all a cover. In reality, he was standing in the middle of the academy, surrounded by the royal crowd. There was an assassin hiding in me. Her expression changes. She says the rest will be in her lab. Scion is a little surprised. Pribesley goes behind. The lab inside is like the old memory. He takes a sip of tea and immediately catches it. It's laced with poison, but she gives it to him from a fraction. But Scion shrugs. One who drinks demonic blood doesn't die from the poison. Upgrade the recipe. Now he's really shocked. She asks how he knows that she takes it from specific books in the Order's library. Scion casually says, apparently, the man from Mist knows it. Now she looks at him with suspicion. Is Scion really part of the Mist? P steps forward and breaks the bluff. He reminds her that someone asked before leaving. One night will be enough, and now that nobles are dying at random, the purification project has begun. She acts, I don't know anything. But Scion speaks with a smile. I know his eyes are hard. She warns, you'll regret speaking too much. Fog spreads across the lab. She picks up a table and throws it at him. Scion doesn't dodge. He punches the table straight through, shattering it into 2 pieces. He tears into her. He says, I've already provided proof of who I am. There's no need to fight. But she refuses. She says, if he were in the mist, she would definitely recognize him because he's Hallam. She won't let him retreat. Saiyan draws out a Karun, ripping each of her strikes with clean counters. He says, you'll get complete proof. Then her eyes fall on the sword. Demonic blade, she says, it can only be wielded by someone chosen by Eru. She freezes. Scion says softly, you know the mist is still searching for a successor. He says, wait, go. The successor you've been looking for is standing right in front of you. Now lead me to Eru. Sarah leads him to a hidden basement door. The door opens, revealing a long, dark tunnel. Scion isn't the least bit surprised. Mist space must be like this. Sarah holds the door and says, go ahead and go to the altar alone. The door closes and the space inside suddenly expands. A warm world created by the fog god. Scion knows exactly which mist operatives will appear. As he walks in the darkness, flying knives come toward him. He knocks them all back in one swing. He throws it up. Mist's welcome is always violent, but today it's even more so. Several masked assassins fall from above, landing only on his afterimage. He's already retreated. The blades come again, but this time Sand deflects them midair and sends them into his own throat. Now everyone is serious, surrounding him and preparing to attack. Saiyan releases a bloodthirst wave. Red fog engulfs their bodies. Everyone faints one by one, except for one who stands motionless. Ankh is instantly discernible. This one is of a high level, have Saiyan unshakable roots. Just as he was about to cast it, the person in front of him came at the speed of a blur and attacked. The mask fell, and in front was Sarah. Have she had come to personally test him. A pure combat maniac who enjoys fighting strong majors, and Sion was the perfect target for him. Have Sion pushed him back with Karam. But Sarah, still in her frenzied excitement, shouted that she could continue the fight. That's Have Sion immediately ran away. He knew what kind of psycho she was, who wouldn't stop until someone was dead. Have Sarah applied a buff to catch up with his speed. She attacked, and Sion easily parried. He clearly doesn't want to fight. Sarah tells him not to worry. This entire zone has been sealed by Aru. No one outside can feel your magic. If you want, unleash your full power. And a warning too. But if you release everything, I might not survive. Before Sion could say anything, his knees give way. He falls down right there. Suddenly, Karume comes down in her physical form. Have Sarah standing in front of him, immediately recognizes him, and bows down. Uryu's chosen spirit was in front of him. Karume growls and asks, "Why were you attacking my master?" Sarah just laughs. It was a test, to see if he was truly a successor. Karum was furious. Her killing intent echoed throughout the tunnel. She was ready to end the fight right away. But then both of them looked at San. He was lying on the ground, bleeding and unconscious. Karum picked him up in her arms. She yelled. What more load did you want? Your body can't handle my true form yet. Every manifestation drains life force, and San's body is still like that of a 10-year-old child. Sarah said with a cupped smile. I won't refuse the duel. I dare you. He gets up. Staggering, he asks, why did you come out suddenly? Caro scolds him in a low voice. Shut up, rest. I'll handle the rest. She says she'll handle this round. Sarah lights up at this, as if battling a spirit is nothing short of a thrill for her. They stand face to face, and there's a strange joy in her eyes like a full-blown masochist loving danger. But before they can collide, Eru's resonant voice from the open portal above shakes the entire realm. The order is immediately given to stop the fighting and come to the altar. Finally, everything is progressing according to plan. Sion is about to meet the god of darkness. In ancient tales, people described the god of black fog as a heartless force that relentlessly took lives without reason. But his followers defended him by calling him mercy. A twisted mercy that only they could understand. They claimed that they would be the ones to decide right from wrong, and that killing someone to protect their beliefs was okay. Most people considered this idea to be madness. He used to say that he was completely unhinged, but in reality, he always stood as a shield for the weak, which makes Sion a mere diluted flower in his eyes. Entering through the portal, he reaches directly to the altar, where Aru is present. Upon reaching there, he is asked if he knows who is standing in front of him. Sion, without hesitation, says, Aru, god of black fog. Despite being a successor, the god has never heard of him. Therefore, he demands proof. But the fog energy pulsating within him was enough. There are only two ways to become a successor. Either Aru chooses himself, or the mist stone. Have chosen. And since God doesn't recognize him, it means only one thing. The stone itself has chosen him, especially since the stone disappeared last year. Eru is truly impressed that Cheyenne both awakened Kum and controlled him so easily. His eyes are sharp, determined, not childish at all. Eru immediately knows that this boy is from another time. Cheyenne had previously suspected that God might have sent him back in time, but Eru is no longer that all-powerful being. His divine power has long since vanished, and Cheyenne already knows this. He simply answers, he came to look for it. Eru shrugs, saying that the successor came on his own. This only made his job easier, lazy as always, but in the middle of the conversation he senses a nasty aura from an object on Sion, the hilt of the holy Sodi. He asks if he was missing the demonic sword. Sion explains that he has no intention of using it right now. He just wants the world to forget the sacred sword and his presence to become irrelevant. This line of thinking surprises Aru, but he doesn't interfere. Still, as per tradition, he asks the successor to meet him. What will he do with the power he has now? This same question was asked in his previous life, and Sion had foolishly answered, I will live for my brother. That very answer led to betrayal and death. Eru had warned him then to avoid superstitions. But this time the answer is clear. He wants this power for himself. Aru warns him that if he answers wrong, he won't get out of here alive. Cyan stands undaunted. Now he intends neither to obey orders nor to live by anyone's dictates. Eru asks him what he will do with his freedom, but Cyan remains silent. It doesn't matter to him. As long as he's fulfilling his duties as successor, God won't interfere, Arut concludes. Then he turns to Karum, his daughter. Her fearsome god form melts away in an instant, and he gently holds her face. He asks how she's doing with her new owner. Karum responds with her usual coolness. He places a kiss on her forehead, and with that touch, Karum returns to her true form. This time, her body doesn't feel the pain of peace because Aru gives her part of his life force so that she can live without it. She can live a weary existence. Then he jokes that if she wants to be freaky with her master, she'll need a body. She explodes, screaming and tearing him apart for saying such a disgusting thing. Honestly, they're perfect for each other. The same chaotic energy. The next day, inside the royal hall, Brian asks what's going on. Sion is equally lost, just watching everything unfold. Sarah and Cam stand face to face in the middle of the hall. The tension grows with each glare. Sod spirit her. Then he provokes her. He says how sensually close the constructor and Sion must be if she's sneaking into his room so early in the morning. Sarah doesn't react. She just gives a calm smile and lets it go. Does have still. The air becomes heavy as if two wild animals are weighing each other before a fight. Amidst this awkward standoff, he says he's going for a walk and leaves, leaving Brian behind. Outside, on the academy grounds, Sion sits on a rooftop, watching the students. No one can see him. This is his escape spot. His peace doesn't last long. In the air, metallic smell of blood spreads. Downstairs, some older students surround a small child and brutally beat him. One of them talks about conducting an experiment, and the others obey without question. The blonde boy creates a glowing sphere of mana and is about to force-feed the child by opening his mouth. Just then, a loud noise rings out. The back of Princess Erin steps forward, her words flaring, scolding the nobles, asking how they can attack the helpless. The leader stands upright and states his name. Barrett Lewis, son of the Duke of the Mill, Gam Kingdom. He asks who she is. She states her name with a stern expression. Barrett, the fifth princess of the Aranuf Empire, is unimpressed. He puffs out his chest and attempts to feign intimidation. She refuses to shake his hand and says she'll report him to the academy. He awkwardly attempts to play it safe and points to the girl, saying it's a misunderstanding. It turns out the child is actually a girl. According to him, no harm is being done. He says the girl will tell him herself. The girl trembles, bruised. She says everything is fine and Aaron should go. She's clearly lying out of fear. Aaron starts to lead her away. Barrett grabs her hand and stops her, saying Leximus has made his choice. Just as things are about to escalate, Sion steps in, blowing her legs off and throwing her to the ground. Her inflated aura vanishes instantly. Sion recognizes Leximus at a glance. He's hard to forget. She had a brutal death match with him in a past life. She was born in the Ushiv Empire, the continent's top swordswoman. But after graduation, Macy defected to Game's client, Count, due to a series of events. The duel was tall and savage. Sion was ordered to assassinate him, but he turned it into a formal challenge. It didn't help, but she had earned that respect. She never used mana, yet she was the best sword user. So she fought him in a direct duel. Barrett gets up, dusts himself off, and looks Sion in the eyes. He knows who he's dealing with. A battlefield survivor who has even faced a dragon. Instead of starting over, he offers them a place in his game. It's called Mana Marbles, a twisted pastime where mana orbs are stuffed into someone's mouth until their internal mana explodes on its own. They're not a threat to the Saiyan, but he's not in the mood for a fight. So he uses an intimidating approach. He creates a mana marble in his hand and inflates it until it balloons to the size of a cow. Then, in a calm voice, he threatens to force-feed them the same thing if he wants. They call Leximus Derms. They take her in for a checkup. She appears fine on the outside, but her internal injuries will take a few days to heal. Aaron stands by her bed, proud and steady, and tells her to rest. She says this was necessary, and that Leximus doesn't give them anything. Then she jokes about how they ran away as soon as they saw the coward Sion. Sion, on the other side of the room, remains silent, remembering how tough she was. Cracked ribs. Kashan, still fighting. This is what one would expect from the continent's finest swordswoman. She catches him staring, and she asks if they've met. He apologizes and says no, though that's a lie. Aaron asks where her room is. She wants to leave it so they don't get close again. Leximus tells her she lives in the commoner's hall. Hearing this, Aaron stops. She blurts out, "Wait, you're a pageant?" Leximus nods. She came to the academy because of Instructor Velen, who promised to pay her fees. But after he left without explanation, she's left without support. Sion suggests she leave the academy. Things aren't going to get any better here. Aaron looks at her face, a little worried. He changes his tone and suggests Aaron take her on as a servant, live with him, train, and learn swordsmanship. Leximus is shocked. She thought she was a boy. It turns out no one told her. She apologizes. She wears boyish clothes. She keeps her hair short. That's why people misunderstand. Aaron feels a little embarrassed, but she ignores it. If Leximus is under her protection, no one will even touch her. She won't be able to. She can stay at school, study, live comfortably, and trade in peace. Leximus thanks her and promises she'll be worthy of that protection. She turns to thank Sion, but he's gone. He left without a word. That was enough for her. Now Sion understands why Leximus left the Empire and fought for the enemy. It was because of Barrett. He lost his mana because of her. But now he hasn't lost any more mana. So the question is, with both Sod skill and mana, can he do that? How powerful can he become? Perhaps so powerful that he can even challenge Scion. But that's a concern for later. He's just received his first mission. Hall Master Sarah gave him his target the morning after he joined Mist. A new assassination awaits him. The first mission was difficult enough, and he's wondering how much worse the next one will be. As he walks down the corridor, a sudden crash resounds and part of the wall explodes. Ave, massive figure emerges from the rubble, towering, broad-shouldered. The first thought that comes to mind is, perhaps, someone has infiltrated the Demon Academy. Then he asks if it's Scionvert, the youngest member of the Vought bloodline with an S-rank body type. Turns out he's not a beast, just another 11-year-old Seth Chaharkin. He's heard stories of the battlefield, the kid who fought a dragon and made it out alive. But what really caught his attention was Scion's S-rank physique. That's why he's come here, just to try his hand and measure himself. Scion sees the emblem on his uniform and recognizes it. Located on the eastern edge of the Spaya Empire continent in his previous life, the desert nation was a source of trouble for the Ushashaf army, as its army, led by Seth, was ruthless and powerful. But he died of a sudden illness, and the empire crumbled. Now, that same boy stands before him. The timelines don't match much earlier than expected. Saiyan doesn't want to fight random kids, so he flatly refuses. He says the academy doesn't allow street fights. If you want a duel, you should file a formal report with the main office. Muscle mass clearly isn't brain power, because Seth is completely wrong. He runs off in that direction. Scion sighs as he watches him disappear. It's good that he won't have to deal with that walking dumbbell for a while. He needs to focus on his mission anyway. In a shadowy corner behind the academy, two men are talking. One is a knight, confirming that everything is ready. The other orders him to deliver Bayer immediately. This man is Zickerman Albus, one of the 3 richest men on the entire continent. On the surface, he appears to be a saint, donating to charities and distributing money. But in reality, he's a monster, the king of the slave trade. He runs it, manages it, and even breeds creatures to sell. Today, he's going to show off his twisted collection of water. He shouts to the staff to handle it carefully. It's his masterpiece. Seeing the lack of guards, Scion understands this is his chance for a clean hit. But as he moves forward, Karam senses something strange. An energy she can't identify. There's something unusual here, something unhuman. Albus is lost in his captives and doesn't notice the danger. Just then, a heavy pressure spreads through the air, and dark mist begins to spread. One of his attendants suddenly falls. His head disappears in a flash. Before anyone can react, Scion has already cut down the rest. Silent and precise. In moments, all the bodyguards, inside and out, are gone. Albus, now pale and trembling, begs for his life. He holds out his hands as if they were shields. Scion is unimpressed. He cuts off his hand. Death is the only fitting punishment for someone who has broken others, sold them, and built an empire on pain. Still, Scion gives him 60 seconds to confess, to say his last words. He falls to his knees. He knows what's about to happen. He starts talking nonsense about how he was just fulfilling a need. The real villains are the buyers. They create the demand. He was just providing the supply. Saiyan doesn't melt. That excuse is useless to him. He had a chance at redemption. Now he will give blood. Saiyan rips open his torso, lets him slowly slide to death. Then he scans the room for the same thing Karam felt. She leads him to a cage where the energy is isolated. He breaks the steel bars. Inside lies a woman. At first glance, she appears dead, but she's holding something. A dragon egg. Back at their place, Brian sees it and is shaken. How did he get a dragon egg from the street? Scion brushes it off. It doesn't matter anyway. Dragons are actually forms of mana, and unless someone fills it with magic, this egg will never hatch. To them, it's like a paperweight. But as Scion says this, the egg's shell begins to crack, and what emerges from it is not a dragon, but a dragon. A mix of dragon and human. It's all more complicated than he expected. Little Crutcher looks into his eyes and cries out, "Daddy!" She jumps on him without hesitation, clinging to his torso as if she's found her lost father. He immediately turns to Cam, blaming her for how things turned out like this while Cam is rolling with laughter. After the mission was over, she was the one who told him to keep the egg so it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. She had said it would never hatch, certainly not without its mother. At that moment, it was just a volatile rock, but he was completely wrong, and now they're stuck with a half-dragon girl and all the chaos that comes with her. The problem isn't just strange, it's huge. Her very presence is a threat. As a hybrid of dragon and human, she doesn't belong on any world. The Academy will destroy her as soon as they find her. Simply to eliminate the threat before a disaster strikes. Drags are fanatical about their lineage, and if they learn of her birth, they will kill everyone associated with her. He's trapped and doesn't know it. How to handle her. Hiding a hybrid is a sky-high risk. Logic dictates that the most compassionate option is to destroy her now to avoid the terrible fate that lies ahead. Karam watches silently, unsure of what his conscience will decide. His hand goes to the girl's neck. The decision is made. He will end her. But at that very moment, she opens her eyes and calls him Papa again. Wrapped tightly in his arms, his warm touch and a strange, unfamiliar feeling rise within her. He gently picks her up and holds this tiny strange. He sees the creature clinging to him. Something changes. He decides he'll be the one to raise it. When Cam returns to Word Castle, Margaret paces restlessly, wondering what she should do about him. If she lets him loose, there's no telling what he might do to her spoiled child. Creus. Her anxiety is broken only when Ashel stops her and asks if she needs to talk to someone. She immediately refuses and hurries away. As soon as she leaves, he calls Kane and inquires about the situation. Report. She says 6 of her knights were found dead in Villius Forest. Only 1 remains, and he's probably in Lune, near Cheon. He's the one who planned the assassination. Her mother's latest update says he was taken to the royal hall, and all communication was cut off after that. Aishel isn't surprised, but rather disappointed that nothing new has been learned after so much time. Kellen asks permission to go to the academy himself and find out concrete information. Aishel grants her permission. What is Cheon hiding? Find out. He's feeding the dragon kid in the royal quarters when Sarah suddenly bursts in. She starts to question him as soon as she sees the child, but he stops her and asks why she's here at this time. The reason is urgent and extremely disturbing. Seth has applied for an official duel. She's furious that things have come to this point. Her actions are drawing too much attention. She didn't think Seth would actually register, but the request has been approved, and that's even worse. The duel is just 2 hours away. 2 hours later, the two stand in the arena. Seth is excited to fight, even though the rules are irritating him. There's only swords. Play and magic are permitted. He proposes that magic be completely removed, and they fight with pure skill. The challenge is accepted. Seth strikes first without hesitation. His speed is truly amazing, and Sion easily blocks it, making a mental note of it. Strength won't win the fight. He needs precision, clean movement, and speed to dodge and counter each attack. Seth tries his best but fails to land a single blow. Sion, holding only a rapier, blocks each strike with tight controlled movements. Seth retreats in a final attempt. He turns and tries a sneak attack, but Sion doesn't even raise his sword. He turns the match around in the blink of an eye. He grabs his leg and throws him to the ground. Before he can touch the ground, Seth twists himself and kicks him, a clever attempt to break his grip. This swift recovery finally catches Sion's attention. The audience watches with bated breath. As if it's a duel to the death, Seth gets up, admitting he's behind in swordplay. Now he's going all in. He'll throw everything he has at him. He changes stance, preparing a high-tier spell. In the distance, Dean watches silently. His eyes gleam with keen interest in the outcome of this match. How will Sion react to the next move? Sion may possess an A-rank physique, but his opponent is a level above him. S-rank. If this were just a battle of raw stats, the outcome would have been a foregone conclusion. But Seth's real trump card is his mana. The rarest lion in the 3-star rank academy watches from the sidelines, restraining himself from yelling at Sion for taking things so far. Seth summons a magical fist, ready to strike. Sion is in trouble. He flinches. Dodging him is no effort. The spell is redirected into the air, forcing him to track it. Yet he dodges easily. Without distraction, he's been studying the caster's technique and is beginning to understand it. This man is probably channeling something above his level, possibly a 4-star spell. Angrily, Seth calls him a coward for not taking a frontal attack. He decides to raise the stakes. No dodging this time. A 4-star sandstorm comes bursting toward him. Sion, as always, the aura cultivator gains a foothold and takes her completely. Meanwhile, Brian is busy handling the dragon girl. His experience raising his younger siblings is paying off. But before he can even comprehend, she suddenly grows in size, now able to stand on her own. Meanwhile, an advanced spell directly hits Sion. The arena's barrier groans under the pressure. Spectators, on the verge of breaking, call out for Dean to intervene. Clearly, they've gone too far. He stops them, telling them to wait. Sion activates a technique. He does. Drawing the attack into a single point, the void sphere disappears in a matter of seconds, the entire storm completely absorbed. No one expected this. Not even Dean. Sarah watches with concern, fearing that this move could reveal her identity. The crowd falls silent. Cheon turns and asks if Seth wants another round. He agrees and collapses. Defeated in both dread magic and steel, frustrated, he takes it as fuel to make himself stronger. He extends mutual respect. He says he hopes they'll fight again. Sion wordlessly declines the handshake. He freezes in shock as he returns. Dragon Girl hasn't just grown taller, her appearance has also aged. Everyone knows dragons don't age like humans, but watching it unfold in real time is something else. Now she looks like a 6-year-old, and at this pace she'll probably look his age by the end of the week. She gives him a bright smile. But the only thing on his mind is how he'll raise her while hiding it. She says he won't be able to hide the girl forever. He can still shield her identity, but not hers. She then scolds him for making such a scene during the fight. She also sees how much the girl has grown in such a short time. Then Rabe says it's his problem. He chose her, and now he has to take care of her. Taking her along could endanger everyone. He takes full responsibility for her upbringing. He's already placed a magic barrier around the room so that neither Aquarius nor the girl can be detected. This setup was Sarah's. It eases his anxiety. Before leaving, she gives him a crimson envelope and warns him not to pull such a stunt again. Inside is a formal reprimand for causing trouble during duels and a threat that he could be expelled. The girl looks up and innocently asks if they'll be living on the streets now. He calmly reassures her, saying nothing will happen. He'll make things right with the school. She already knows the dean personally sent it, not the administrator, meaning it's more of a summons than a punishment. In her past life, she served this same dean. He had gone to seek entry into the Knights of Light. He had chosen to obey his father's wishes and bow to his brother's orders. Hadn't supported this decision. He knew it wasn't the right path for him, but he couldn't stop him. Just before he had entered, Dean had warned him there was no point in following that path. No matter the outcome, he would ultimately return empty-handed. Whatever the end of his life as a puppet to others, resentment would always return to his brother. That's what Dean had said the last time, but now the circumstances had changed. And what was Dean thinking this time? Have Scion is about to find out. Brian makes a suggestion. They should stop calling the girl Kid and give her a name. Without hesitation, he casually names her Nana. Brian laughs at the basic name, but she glows with joy. Running around, she keeps repeating Nana. Dean is still in his office reflecting on what happened at the duel. He already had high hopes for Scion, but what he saw today shattered them all. Absorbing a 4-star spell with a 1-star technique, and that too without any effort, is just a matter of his raw power. Have the potential is too great to ignore. He wants to know the depth of that power. Kundal Kazal trained Emperor Dan, and even taught the previous Empress's father. He is one of the few 9-star mana rank holders. But after the death of his sister Dana, he left the battlefield and focused solely on the academy. Yet, one thing always bothered him. He had never seen him fight. He assumed he was a calm person. But in this lifetime, Quazel has found himself in a royal succession crisis. Yet the situation remains the same. On his way to the office, he encounters a dense magic wall blocking his path. Dean clearly knew he would be coming, and this 9-star ward was set up to test him. From the office, Dean waits to see how the challenger handles it. Only a capable magician will be able to break it. He accepts the challenge, but instead of breaking through the barrier, he circles the building and sneaks in through a back window. He introduces himself and says he has come to lodge an official complaint about the warning letter. Dean accepts the confrontation and asks what the problem is. Cian explains that the letter came directly from him, but seeing the circumstances, he's now convinced it was just a trap to test him. Dean doesn't deny it. He admits the test was excessive, but Cian has passed it. The warning remains. He reiterates. He's not taking the warning back. Cian asks him a question. Does Dean want to expand the empire or protect his family's legacy? He calls it the gutsy question, but claims neither of those matters to him. Doesn't agree. If the Emperor Diane dies and the 3rd or 4th prince claims the throne over the 1st prince, won't Dean take sides? Dean's voice grows sharper. He angrily declares that Scion is being arrogant. He says that Scion was Ash's pawn. But in his eyes, Dean is no better. In his past life, he was Ezreal's puppet, and the man in front of him seems just as controlled. Dean slams his hand on the table. His voice rises. Does he think 100 years of peace can be broken so easily? He thought Scion was a prodigy, but now he just sees a naive idiot. Then he throws another question. Does he really think the 1st prince and 2nd princess's mother died of illness? Does he think the 3rd and 4th princesses are real contenders for the 1st prince? The Nepal family, from which Empress Cassandra comes, is notorious for holding on to power. That clan will do anything to maintain its position. In Scion's eyes, the peace of the empire is already crumbling. And when that happens, the academy will fall with it. And the dean is terrified. This is hard to believe. Politics is he's deeply understanding. Dean asks what he wants by revealing all this. He simply says he wants to negotiate. He can help save the Academy's future and Dean's family's safety. But in exchange for the warning being lifted, Dean just laughs. He casts a spell. Magic flashes overhead, creating restraints that instantly tighten. Chains wrap around Scion, restricting his every movement. Dean stares at him. He asks what he thinks. What gives him the power to even think of such a deal? Now, he needs to learn what it means to make a mistake. Scion summons Void Fear. Supposedly weak 1-star spells for his hobby start pulling high-rank magic. Tion makes eye contact and asks if he still thinks he's useless. Dean agrees. He's impressed, and yes, he'll lift the warning. But that's not all the boy wants, is it? Meanwhile, Brian is out buying food for Nana. He buys random sweets, thinking how happy she'll be, but something feels wrong. The streets are unusually quiet at this time. He ignores it, thinking it's nothing. He senses something strange. Then a shadowed Eli senses something strange. He calls out for whoever it is to come out. As soon as they come, his eyes widen. Hay recognizes them immediately. They grab him before he can react. After finishing his conversation with the dean at the academy, Sean goes to his last class of the day. He's there, but mentally disconnected. Difficult to hear the same things he mastered 30 years ago. He tries to leave the class. There's no assignment. He goes straight to training. He wants to. Aaron catches him midway and asks where he's going. He offers the bathroom as an excuse, but she refuses, saying it's inappropriate for a hallway bathroom. Leximus reminds her that she should behave like a proper princess, She ignores him and presses Scion again. If not the bathroom, then where? He tries to change the topic, asking why she lets Leximus speak so casually in public. She says she only lets him use his first name in private. She then adds that Scion should do the same because now they're friends. He replies that she's just a nobody. While she's the daughter of an apothecary. She says she's very uptight. Just then, two upperclassmen appear. Aaron freezes as soon as he sees them. One of them mumbles, "It's been a while." Pavian stands next to him. With her brother, Norovian, she bows and shows respect. Novian mocks her. He asks why she's now hanging out with the pageants she used to keep in chains. Scion recognizes them immediately. The Neptune brothers are her half-brothers, and they clearly don't like her. Then, their attention shifts to Scion. He steps forward and introduces himself. Scion is the youngest member of the Wyatt family. They nod and say that anyone would recognize the Duke's son and mention that they saw his duel. It was impressive. They suggest that he come to the next gathering and perhaps become friends. Pavian then turns to Aaron and tells him to stay within his limits, leave Agnes, and remember his place. They leave. Confused, Leximus asks if he's really her brother and what's wrong with them. She remains calm, saying they're family. Blood ties can't be left out. Scion disapproves. He says that in their eyes, he's lower than dust, less than a stranger, worthless without blood or water power. They treat him that way because deep down they fear him. There's no reason to bow to him. His words touch her deeply. She blushes, surprised that he said something so kind. He returns to the royal hall and immediately notices something is wrong. No one is there except Nana. He calls out for Crumb and Brian. Only Crumb answers. She transforms into her fireball form. I see him hovering. She says this form helps him hide his energy. She asks, what's the urgency? He says he has to track Brian. Karam pauses, focuses, then says he smells blood from the same direction Brian went. On the other side, Brian is being beaten by a group of thugs, clearly Barrett's men. Barrett leans in and sneers that Brian should have listened when they were soft. Now they won't stop. They say they'll chop him into pieces and send him to Cayenne, just because he dared to confront them. They acted. Brian laughs, completely unfazed, and says they still have nothing. This was the limit. Barrett loses his temper and orders them to kill him. They raise their swords. They are about to strike when Scion sharply questions them about what they are doing. Barrett freezes at the sound of a voice. He recognizes exactly whose voice it is. The rank mage examines Brian's condition. He is utterly broken, unable to speak. Eldest Lewis Miles sees this as the perfect opportunity and growls, threatening to remove Scion's organs. Scion, on the other hand, gives a slight smile. He welcomes the fight. Then Fob releases his F-form assault, reducing the knights to pieces in seconds. Barrett stands stunned. Every mercenary is dead before his eyes. He will never be able to handle such an opponent. Scion's strength is beyond his understanding. He frantically tries to cast a spell, but a powerful kick from Scion throws him into the air. Standing down from the table, he asks if beating weak people is his idea of fun. Barrett coughs and laughs. He says yes, this is one of his hobbies. He asks is Cayenne going to kill him for this reason. Barrett Lewis is the shadow ruler of Air Garam Kingdom from the Vismail family, whose cruelty is famous. Burning animals, killing students, all these were his past crimes. Mist had even issued a purification order for him. When Scion entered his mansion, after exile, he found heaps of dead bodies in the basement. Dead bodies of servants. Scion did not want to let him die quickly. He wanted to torture him first. But Barrett laughed, saying that there was no need for long torture. He did not care. Doesn't matter. He's taken all he could from life. Now, thinking about it, Scion understands giving death outright is not a sin. It's a mercy. Maze grabs him, forces his mouth open, and begins turning him into marble. Barrett understands what's about to happen and, terrified, begs him to stop. He threatens what will happen if he hurts the heir of the Game Kingdom's most powerful bloodline. But before he can finish his sentence, the sphere is shoved down his throat. Scion says he can abuse and hate, but remember one thing. He'll hit those who come under his protection. Don't dare to try it. The marble explodes inside him. His internal mana flow is permanently severed. On a nearby rooftop, Ashel's butler was watching. He was stunned. Scion's strength exceeded his expectations. He had to return to report, but he didn't get the chance. A cold sword rested on his neck. Sarah, he had finally caught the stalker who had been following his student for days. Meanwhile, Scion went to Brian and checked his injuries. Brian apologized. He said he hadn't thought they would be. Together. We'll attack him. Scion straightens up and asks if he considers himself a subordinate. If so, why was he fighting a losing battle? He says that jumping into a hopeless fight may be noble, but it's foolish. Dead loyalist is of no use to him. He stops the conversation, saying they'll discuss it once they get home. He calls out. Sarah appears. A group of mist assassins appear with a woman. He's impressed that she sensed them despite perfect concealment. Sarah jumps from the rooftop, dragging Butler along. She says, he's holding a gift for her. Scion already knew this man had been stalking him all week. Assassin admits Scion's abilities are growing rapidly. defeating Mist Assassin, outsmarting Dean, and handling the demonic sword without losing his sanity. He ticks all her boxes as an ideal successor. Yet, she warns that this can't go on like this. More people are becoming suspicious. He promises to be more discreet, but he'll stop being a jerk and getting beaten up. He clearly says, if anyone touching her people will destroy them. Soraka understands. She respects his wish and prepares to leave. Before leaving, she tells him that he should decide for himself about Butler, and she will handle Barrett's situation. The prisoner has been listening to everything they say. He thinks his death is certain, but something else is going on in his mind. He is Ashel's most trusted man, never leaving his master's side. Maze was jealous of that loyalty in his past life. He could kill him now, but there is a better use for him. Tyan, a shadow personality. He casts a spell. Butler screams as dark energy fills his body and takes control from within. Meanwhile, Leximus and Aaron's are crossing, part of their training routine. She struggles to keep up with his speed and precision. Finally, he slips behind her, holds a blade to her head, and declares the match hers. He still addresses her as Your Highness. She admits defeat but says he should give up the title and take her real name. Meanwhile, Brian is training with Kane. It's completely exhausting him. He's constantly getting injured, but he's holding on with his high stamina and brute strength. Zion thinks he might be a good asset in the future. He asks if Brian wants to take a break. Brian, hiding the pain, says he's fine and wants to continue. It doesn't matter. Zion would have continued training anyway. He knows when people like Barrett might attack again. It's hard to say anything. Brian brings up Kane and asks if he's really okay after the spell. Zion says, don't worry now. Kane is with them. He explains the spell. It strips someone of their personality and puts them under external control. He used it only once in a past life. Sion asks Kane directly, who is he now? The knight answers without hesitation. He's Kane Diego, he says, the guardian of Velas, sent to monitor him. Then Sion asks, who is his master now? Callan says, it used to be Ashel, but not anymore. Now he wants to serve Tyann. Tyann smiles slightly and tells him to deliver the next message in his own words. Callan nods, shakes. On the training field, Aaron asks if Tion has come to train. He nods and returns the same question. She says she trains with Leximus every weekend, especially after last week's turmoil. Barrett was found collapsed outside in Ferry, completely broken, and no one could get him to do anything. In fact, he didn't want to talk. Sarah erased his memory. And not only that, he will never be able to use magic again. Yet, what surprises Tion is Leximus's reaction. He thought she would be satisfied, but there's something different in his expression. Just then, Nana, falling from the sky, screams his name. It seems Karim has abandoned her again. The little half-dragon girl crashes into Aaron's arms. She glares at Sion, shouting Papa loudly. Aran asks, stunned, what's all this? He tells her the entire story, from beginning to end. She's clearly relieved after hearing it. Nana isn't his daughter, and he's not having any hidden affairs. Sion expects blackmail or scandal, but she quietly assures him she won't tell anyone, neither the faculty nor the students. She's perplexed. Why help him? When she won't get anything out of it, she just looks at Nana. She doesn't belong anywhere. Neither humans nor drags will accept her. Aaron doesn't mind if Sion takes care of her. The only condition is that she comes to visit whenever she wants. She tries to hide her demand. He agrees, using his usual cold voice, concealing his true feelings. She has no room for argument. He jokingly calls it their little secret. As he leaves, she blushes slightly, a strange slight, happy and nervous, as if she's finally one step closer to him. Across the room, Cam is roasting him for letting Nana open up to his classmates. She taunts him that maybe they should get a proper introduction too. He retorts by blaming her for fainting, while he was supposed to be watching over Nana. Maze shrugs guiltlessly, and puts the blame back on him. Brian comes up with a more practical suggestion. Maybe a short walk around the academy grounds will put Nana at ease instead. Instead of locking him in his room all day, Sion agrees. It would probably be better. Two draggers are flying over the academy. One of them suddenly stops floating in the air, catching a scent that seems off-putting to him. He asks Catalina where they are. She tells him they're flying over Lewin's domain. He frowns and says he has to land at the academy. There's a foul smell down there, and he's not going to let it go. Brian and Sion go out late at night, taking Nana along, hoping the little walk will help them soak up the atmosphere, will lighten her. As she walks, she learns to use her wings and speak clearly. Now she's zooming around uncontrollably in the air. She's fascinated by open spaces. He smiles softly as he watches her as she jumps from one spot to the next. Seemingly so happy, he's brought her to a confined space away from the academy grounds so she can fly freely without attracting attention. Karam notes her unusually wide smile and sarcastically says, if that's the case, then make Aaron her mom too, because he's acting like a total dad. Their peace doesn't last long. Suddenly, a powerful presence pierces the air and heads towards them. Brian reacts quickly. The sturdy Becky rushes forward, grabbing Nana and pulling her away from the incoming attack. The three take cover behind Sion. Just then, two hostile figures appear. Two Draugrs, Lucian and Catalina. Lucian's eyes fill with hatred as he falls on Nana, as if she were a curse. He asks if Sion is his father. because he recognizes the demonic blade she carries. Corundum immediately retaliates, but they hurl more insults, all of whom look on in disgust. Tensions rise, and just as a fight is about to break out, Lucian stops Catalina. He says there's no need to waste energy on lowly creatures like them. Just hand over the girl. Qian doesn't budge an inch, calling him lizard-faced trash. At that very moment, the dragon flares up and fires a beam of raw mana, but it's easily avoided. Have Qian then activates his demonic transformation. Both dragons instantly recognize Aura, Exile's power, yet they don't take her seriously. But he moves faster than expected, and before Lucian can even realize it, he's already upon him. The dragon somehow blocks the incoming blow and creates distance. He fires the shockwave spell, but it has no effect. Scion escapes almost immediately. Before the dragon can react, the swordsman turns around and attacks, but Catalina's shield stops him. Lucian tells her to retreat, but she trusts her shield, considered the strongest among dragons. She's mistaken. Have Scion is a. In one clean movement, he rips through the shield and slashes it. Lucian is stunned. He can't understand how a human can wield such power. Even the god of fog lost his authority. So how could anyone else channel this power? He demands to know who the man is. But swordsman remains completely silent. There's no answer. Lucian, desperate, activates his polymorph, transforming into full dragon form in a last-ditch effort to win. The opponent standing in front of him remains completely still. He doesn't panic and charges straight at it. He knows this is the moment when the dragon is most exposed. Lucian thinks no human can know a dragon's weaknesses, but swordsman jumps and strikes him squarely in the middle of his forehead. The dragon tries to escape into the air, but Fog Chase catches him and pulls him down, ending the fight. As the dust settles, Brian comes running but stops. In shock, his friends stand over the two defeated dragons, eating them. At the same time, Ken is standing over Ashley's, reaching the quarters. He tells that some unknown force is supporting his brother, and that perhaps the scouts sent by them were also eliminated by the same group. Ashal narrows his eyes and asks if that's all he found out. Kellen admits his mistake and says yes, and then Ashal senses his changed behavior. The desperation that he had before leaving is no longer the same. Something is different. To test him, he asks him a question. Ken understands that he is being tested. He bends down and starts reciting the holy blessings of Liminal. Ashal laughs and says that there is no need to be so formal. It's routine. As he leaves, Ken realizes that if he has even the slightest suspicion, he won't be able to escape. As he opens the door, he bumps into a little girl. He asks Sion's personal maid why she's here. Just then, Aishel appears from behind and says she called him. He smiles and asks for her help, and she agrees. Meanwhile, the drags are having an emergency meeting. Catalina and Lucian are both missing. Their last trace was a massive divine search on Loon's border. After that, nothing. Only destruction and heavy magical activity. Residue. Not even bodies. That means someone deliberately wiped away every trace. This is the work of the dark element. Kundal Kazalela comes under suspicion, but he doesn't have a dark affinity. So the conclusion is clear. Another dark caster is active. They also know about the boy who studies at the Royal Academy. Saiyan is just a teenage dark mana user. But now rumors are gathering he survived the fight with the Devil Dragon and may also be connected to the deaths of Renaud and Zekerman. Both were major slave trade suppliers from whom the dragons sourced their goods. Meeting leader. He decides Sion must be kept under observation. His granddaughter must observe him closely. At the royal domes, Aaron brings sweets for Nana. Sion sits aside, watching them silently. Sion is calm, but he harbors a constant fear that another dragon might discover Nana's presence. He has resolved that from this point on, he will live his life as he pleases and sabotage every plan of Ashel. Aaron sees a faint, unguarded smile appear on his face. She pauses thinking, but takes it as simply that he is simply enjoying the moment. Meanwhile, in the Garden of the Word residence, Linnell Sess is having a private conversation with Prince Aishin. It's been a while since they last met. Linnell leans back and asks how long he'll continue to rot here in the middle of nowhere. He's also heard that Alice has gone on a journey. Aishen admits he's genuinely worried about her, but he doesn't know where she's gone or what she's doing. Linnell smugly teases that perhaps he's more concerned about his influence and position than Alice. Aishen tells him. He warns them not to discuss such sensitive topics outside, but the prince shrugs and says they're close friends. Honesty is fine. Then he asks if Aishen has a brother, Cyan. He heard Emperor is taking an interest in the protagonist. He's even considering an engagement between Cyan and Aaron, the fifth princess. Linnell admits he doesn't know why Emperor is so adamant. Perhaps it's a way to save his daughter. Aishen advises him not to be impulsive. He believes the more attention Aishen gets, the more his value and influence will increase, and they can both use him to better advantage. You can do it. Linnell raises an eyebrow and laughs, happy with her calculations. A butler arrives with drinks. Ashel, now Joy, asks who this knight is. Linnell explains that he's a rare talent. He met him in the slums. Ashel nods. He says he looks really impressive. The butler introduces himself as Burris Lalam, the same person seen in the story's opening chapter. 2 years pass, and Alice returns to the academy. She keeps a low profile, trying to slip back into her routine without drawing attention. But people see her everywhere. They notice. Finally, she arrives at the dean's office. He greets her warmly and asks if she had a good time. She tells them she went to Fry's. Expression changes, clearly surprised, because humans aren't welcome there, he remembers. He said it might take years to adjust, but the journey will help her decide where she belongs. Now, it seems, she's made up her mind. Alice says she's determined to join the Knights of Light. He asks Porpilius what that means, if she's going to carry on her family's legacy. She also says she's worried about someone, specifically her. Dean laughs mischievously, knowing exactly who she's talking about. He says he can handle it himself. Just then, Sean comes up from behind. Alice turns and freezes at the sight of him. Seeing him suddenly after all these years, she notices how much taller and wider he's gotten. He's standing almost her height now. He might even surpass her soon. That joke? He thinks she might be the one shrinking. The date is July 2nd, 988. Sion remembers this day from his past life. She asks if he's going to return home for summer break. He says no, one will welcome him there except her. Does have. She is shocked. She asks if this is why he hasn't returned home for 2 years. The truth is, the reasons for his staying away are deeper. Aishel is one of those reasons, and the Duke's wife constantly looks for opportunities to kill him, and their father does nothing. Turning home would be tantamount to death. He's determined not to return until after graduation. Then she asks, is he close with the crayons? He says, no chance. At least not yet. She stands there stunned. Brian is about to step forward and confirm everything. Who is this man? He introduces himself directly.